1,500 applicants approved so far under the Regularization Initiative.
HLSCC students receive awards for outstanding academic performance and student representative to sit on college board.
The BVI youths are speaking up for their rights.
Dolphin Discovery franchise to return to the territory. Find out what some residents are doing to make sure this doesn't happen.
And Tyler Perry opens world-class studio.
Key eyewitness in Botham Jean murder killed days after verdict. These and more stories when 284 News returns.
Every 39 minutes, someone is killed by a drunk driver. Every minute, someone is injured by a drunk driver. 8 teenagers die every day in alcoholic-related car crashes. Motorcycle drivers comprise the highest percentage of drunk drivers in fatal crashes. The highest percentage of drunk drivers involved in a fatal crash are ages 18 to 24. Alcohol affects your reaction time, vision, tracking, concentration, comprehension, and coordination. Remember, when you drink and drive, you put the health and safety of yourself and others at risk. Select a designated driver, carpool, hang out in groups, don't leave your friends behind, and know your limit. 284 Media is concerned about the well-being of all and wishes everyone safety as we traverse the roads. Celebrate in style, but please don't drink and drive.
Welcome everybody. It's Tuesday, October 8th, 2019. I'm Ron Grant.
And I'm Javon Wilson. A big month.
Indeed.
Outside of Liberation Month. We're celebrating domestic violence as well as
Breast cancer awareness.
two, of course, very prevalent issues in a very small society that we're trying to tackle, and of course trying our best to raise awareness.
So lots going on. Topping our newscast today, the government of the Virgin Islands is presently in negotiations with the aquatic company for the return of the Dolphin Discovery franchise to Tortola, British Virgin Islands, which is expected to be finalized within the coming weeks. The announcement came recently by Premier and Minister of Finance, the Honorable Andrew A. Foy, who said that plans are now being fine-tuned. He said Dolphin Discovery has been speaking with us and they are making sure that they have finalized the details. They should be signing the new agreement because since Hurricane Irma, that was the agreement that they had to leave, and now we are in negotiations to have them back, while noting that the Dolphin Discovery operation won't be open until next year. Foy said that it is being pushed for the height of the 2020 tourism season. He also mentioned that a new board is in place to manage the company and operations of the Dolphin Discovery. While he did not provide any additional information as to the reasons behind the installation of the new board, he said that they would be working hard to facilitate the company's return. Now, Jovan, Premier Foy and his team are, while they're working diligently to return the Dolphin Discovery to the British Virgin Islands, more than 2,000 BVI residents are not so happy about the negotiations. More than 2,000 persons have affixed their signature to an online petition to protest the return of the Dolphin Discovery franchise to the British Virgin Islands. The online petition titled "Stop the Return of Captive Dolphins to the British Virgin Islands" was created days ago by Neil Day and is seeking 2,500 signatures and has already surpassed 2,000 signatures. Organizers of the petition described the business as a violation to the dolphins. Now, Jovan, this is the second anti-dolphin petition to be circulated within the past few years. One was created in July of last year by Dolphin Freedom UK, urging the Virgin Islands government to deny the Dolphin Discovery franchise the permit to reopen in the British Virgin Islands. We have a clear indication here where some might say, and we did a poll on our page where it was kind of mixed. About half the person said yes, it should return, and a little bit more. Yeah, said it should return, and the remaining percentage said, no, there's no need for it. So we see some mixed emotions here by residents.
I think because it's a bittersweet situation,
Yes.
while like our cruise ship executives, for example, in the recent past would have made reference to the fact that we need to do more as a tourist destination to entice our guests, more activities for them to enjoy, of course. We still have to be equally concerned about not just only the environment, but animal cruelty. Because I think that's the biggest concern here. I've been made to understand when dolphins are confined to small spaces, they become aggressive and frustrated, and as a result have to be medicated with like antidepressants and so on. So persons are concerned about the health of these animals, and
which could be understood.
Dolphins. So I guess it really boils down to what the majority of the people want, or maybe in this case, maybe what the government of the day wants.
Well, it clearly seems like the negotiations are already full speed ahead. Sorry, so we'll see what becomes of it.
All right, moving right along, the regularization initiative is gaining momentum as the first batch of applicants were ratified in the last cabinet of the Virgin Islands. The report stated that the cabinet reviewed and approved applicants for the certificates of belonging status and residence and belonging status under the Clear Path to Regularization Residency and Belonging Status Program for persons who would have met the legal requirements of Section 2(4) of the Immigration and Passport Amendment Act 2019. Now, our news house reached out to the Honorable Vincent Whitley, of course, the Minister for
Yes.
Immigration and Labor, who expressed that a decision was made to approve the applicants in batches. He further confirmed that an estimated 800 applicants from the regularization initiative were approved in the first batch, and that more details are forthcoming in the next House of Assembly. According to central government, the regularization initiative will provide the expatriate community with a fast-paced opportunity to apply for residency or belonger status. The proposal was initially afforded to applicants, of course, living in the BVI for 15 or more years, but was quickly revised to 20 years after being met with public outcry from some concerned members of the community. Nevertheless, the Premier and his government is adamant that not only will this heal some of the division we see happening in the territory, but it will also give the expatriate community, who, of course, dedicated a significant amount of their years, efforts, and monies, a fair chance to become a legitimate part, of our community. So we see the program making some
Yes,
leeway.
strides.
I know there are a lot of questions that were attached to it, because initially, I think it would have been like 6 weeks after the launch, the application process, rather, persons would have been made aware of whether they got through, they were approved or not, in the fast-paced format that we see being laid out here. But clearly it's taken a bit more time. They have gone back to the drawing boards. They've revisited some of the guidelines, of course, to match not just the expatriate
Correct.
community, but the natives of the British Virgin Islands, in a way that best reflects the benefits for everyone involved.
Well, what's interesting, though, in your conversation with the Honorable Minister, you mentioned that this is just the first batch. They're expected to be laid out in batch. So,
Yes.
we'll see what happens. 800 at one seems like a lot. So I'll be interested to see how many batches there will be and how many persons within each batch will be awarded the certification. So we'll wait to see.
We'll just have to wait and see. Viewers, still ahead, the BVI youths are speaking out, and HLSCC students receive awards for outstanding academic performance, and student representative is about to sit on the college board. These and more stories when 284 News returns.
What are you really running for, boss? You could have bust a hole in your head. But see, with the competition, which means you're about to bust a hole in your pocket.
I could get my modem, please.
Anyhow, I got something huge to show you.
I gotta be sick in your head.
Well, hold on, string bean. Taking a kind of party. Check this. That's LTE1 for just about everyone. LTE2 for you and your boo. And hold on. Bam! Rate so low, you feel like you're free. That's LTE3 for you and the whole family.
Save even more on your internet with new pricing from CCT. Get LTE 2 now for only $149. Get LTE 3 for the new low price of $189. All packages are unlimited, so there's no overage charge. You don't have to run into Chaz for savings. Just stop by our store and sign up today. Come on over to CCT. Life Unlimited.
Hello?
Wait, you had a lunch and care? You say you were sick? What happened to over the rehearsal?
No, babe. I'm actually watching the news right now. Take a listen.
Topping our newscast today, UFO seen around Tortola Pier Park.
And District 3 residents outraged over no water supply. They simply cannot bathe. These and more stories when 284 News returns.
All right, babe, just get some rest, take 2 Advil, and I'll see you later. Bye.
Okay, honey. I see you later. I love you.
It's clear to see that Coconut Lounge is a place to be, the coolest cocktail lounge in the British Virgin Islands. A lounge like no other, with welcoming, professional service, and a breathtaking ambiance. Not forgetting a diverse selection of wines, beers, and signature cocktails. Cozy, comfortable, contemporary. Coconut Lounge at Tortola Pier Park. Visit us today.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching 284 News. Last night, the Department of Youth Affairs and Sports held a youth forum under the theme Confronting the Social Issues Impact on Education for an Economically Sustainable Region. The forum, guided by young professionals Tamalji Hughes, Kyler Forbes, Trevor Bridgewater, Amoy James, and Koyisha Stout, spoke to a lot of the issues and pressures that our younger generation is faced with right here in the BVI. Now, some key points coming out of the meeting. Firstly, the reality of poverty in the British Virgin Islands. Now, a lot of students attested to the prevalence of poverty in our communities, especially post-ARMA, where they themselves or another student they know would have gone without food or even basic necessities due to financial constraints. Another point we got into was the struggles and the pressures of life, mental health, and of course the temptations of suicide. This topic truly carried, I would think, the bulk of the conversation,
Significant weight, yeah.
Ron. And without a doubt, we recognized in this space last night that mental illness does not discriminate. Now, almost every student in that room acknowledged that they had difficulties coping with the changing world. It seemed to be general consensus that our students are struggling mentally and they're bottling up their feelings. They also explained how a lack of support from not their peers, but their parents, their families, how a lack of support and of course, and not having healthy outlets, how that could lead or easily influence them to turn to substance abuse, of course, drugs, alcohol, and all of those things. And many would agree that we are losing our kids, some of our kids to drugs and alcohol abuse in the territory. Then there's the issue of technology, of course, and the way it is changing the way our brains are wired. Now, let's face it, our children are already struggling with self-esteem issues, and due to, of course, their exposure to the digital world, are now comparing themselves to unrealistic ideals of what they're supposed to look like, sound like, and of course, essentially mimic. Social media users, as we recognize, have become really irresponsible, I think, in this day and age. And I think because they're not focusing enough on the positive ideals, the importance of expressing your essence and individuality.
But not only that, negativity all around us, especially when it comes to social media, is so highlighted and so glorified that we seem to miss the positive of every story.
Absolutely, and our kids are feeding off of that.
Exactly.
They're also looking at the way we as adults were interacting with each other in social media. So a very powerful tool. And so instead of embracing themselves as they are, you find that our children are now trying to be like someone else. The students further addressed the dangerous gap in relationships shared between parents and their children. And I know, Ron, this has been an ongoing conversation. Over the years, we find that that gap is actually widening. Parents, and they're no longer speaking to their children.
The conversation's not being had.
It's almost non-existent. And it's really scary because then how do we transfer the knowledge? How do we transfer the wisdom? How are we able to guide our children? Because there was one specific student that really touched me. She said, I'm living in a home, my parents are non-existent. Even though they're physically there, they are not there. And that really speaks volumes to the type of relationships that you find in the homes these days.
Well, I'll tell you, Jovan, it's quite important and it's prevalent because what we see is that a lot of parents, particularly single-parent homes, are so occupied with providing and making a living that they neglect that conversation and that one-on-one time.
It's completely overshadowed.
And you see that a lot of the young persons learn stuff from the internet, their peers, on the streets. But I think methods like this and conversations like this where we have open forums where they come and discuss their issues with the young persons that they could look up to, like Ms. Kyla Forbes and Tamalji Hughes and others who are a good example of how they should be dealing with whatever they might be going through. I think that's where we should be going.
And absolutely. And you know what was beautiful to me as well? The fact that we had adults in that very room. We had counselors, we had the Honorable Minister
was present,
a few adults in the room who really we're receptive of the concerns and the visions of the youth. And I think that is so important, letting them know that this is a safe space and you are allowed to express yourself. Your opinions are valid, you know, and age has nothing to do with it.
Right. I must admit, Jovan, one thing that I did observe with the meeting last evening is that I would have hoped that a lot more young people, particularly the ones that needed the assistance, because what I find at a lot of these events is that some of the students that come perhaps are not the ones that are most needing of the help, and the others who are needing of it, they don't show up and they stay away, kind of like a PTA meeting.
Yes.
The parents of the children who are doing well, they always come out and see how their child's doing. How's he
Right.
doing? How's she doing?
Right.
But he's good. The ones that you want to see are the ones that you don't see. So I hope that we can work on reaching those particular young people.
I agree. I mean, it's debilitating for their mental growth
Yes.
and their physical growth if you don't have that relationship, that healthy relationship. So again, they spoke to the toxic parent traits and how, you know, parents being physically there, but of course mentally absent.
checking out, yeah.
How that affects their feelings, their emotions, and it's almost like they feel dismissed. But again, it was just really powerful to sit there and listen to them and hear their perspective. And now, as simple as that sounds, it's very deafening because we have to look at the makeup of our society and we need to acknowledge the roles we all have to play. And, you know, we go back to the adage, I mean, it's often overlooked, it takes a village to raise a child. But
Still
I think
takes a village, yeah.
especially in this day and age and considering all the influences that we have, especially the impact of technology and social media, we really need to get back to that place. Now, present at the meeting was also the subject minister, and we also had Ms. Brenda Ty-Letsam. She's the director of she's the director at the Department of Youth Affairs and Sports. They congratulated the students not only on their bravery, but their ability to come out, like you said, the ones who needed it probably wasn't there, but they did congratulate the persons who showed up because it shows a lot of interest. And also promised that the considerations will be taken very seriously to provide solution-based programs through the BU Center, which is soon to be established. Now, last night's forum occurred in wake of Caribbean Youth Day, which was celebrated across the Caribbean region on September 30th, and gave the community an opportunity to celebrate and highlight the achievements of our young men and women who really reinforce their impacts in our society. And of course, we want to celebrate their contributions and the roles that they play for continued and sustainable development in our countries.
Wonderful. And on the same breath of youth development, Minister of Education, Culture, Youth Affairs, Fisheries, and Agriculture, Dr. the Honorable Natalia Wheatley recently announced that the government of the Virgin Islands will be appointing a student representative to sit as a member of the H. Lavely Stout Community College's Board of Governors. The announcement came during a recent student assembly of the college. In his remarks, he noted that the students positive on the board is part of the government's mission and ideals of shared governance and inclusion. Additionally, he said, "We have made the position available on the Board of Governors for a student representative. This is because we want students to have more of a voice in this concept we all call governance. We want your voices to be heard much more, and we want you to give you an opportunity for those persons in the student government representing the student body to bring forward these concerns and have them addressed, which I think is a step in the right direction," Minister said. Mr. Jamal Smith was the first and only student in the institution's history to sit on the Board of Governors of the H. Lavely Stout Community College. The process of selecting the student representative, though not confirmed, is expected to be largely influenced by the student body at the institution, more than likely through an election process. And while on the conversation of H. Lavely Stout Community College, several H. Lavely Stout Community College students were recognized for their academic performance at the college's fall student assemblies on Tortola and Virgin Gorda on October 1st and 2nd, 2019. The celebratory events featured motivational speeches, student performances, and cheers for students who proudly received their certificates. Dr. the Honorable Natalia Wheatley, Minister of Education and former lecturer of the same institution, congratulated students for receiving and their recognition of the Dean's List and President's List. He indicated his fondness of the college and reminisced on his 12 years as a lecturer at the institution. Deputy Chair of the H. Lavely Stout Community College's Board of Governors, Miss Fiona Forbes Vanterpool herself, and H. HLSCC alumni, in encouraging new students, emphasized that students must take responsibility for their learning and freedom. She urged them by saying, do not blindly accept what you are being taught as correct simply because it is the view of your lecturer, but to challenge the status quo, explore new hypotheses, gain insight and knowledge as the way of change comes about. This is where innovation is inspired. The short ceremony at Paraquita Bay ended with an upbeat performance by the one and only reigning soca monarch, Ramon George, also known as Ramon G. While he was incarcerated, Mr. George had the opportunity to participate in an initiative at the H. Lively Stout Community College that the H. Lively Stout Community College offered to inmates in 2017. In that program, HLSCC faculty taught various courses at the correctional facility. Now, other speakers at the Virgin Gorda ceremony included Dr. the Honorable Natalia Wheatley, Ramon G., H. Lively Stout officials, Mrs. Fiona Forbes, Vantapool, Vice President Richard Georges, the Director of the Virgin Gorda campus, Dr. Steve Leonard, and Director of Student Services, Ms. Deborah Hodge. Great things coming out of our only tertiary institution here in the Virgin Islands. So proud of those students.
I'm really proud, especially because representation matters, and I
Yes.
feel like no one can tell our stories like us. So to have a student on that board, the
Yes.
Board of Governors, is super important.
I think it's a
because
great move.
Not only are you able to share the concerns of the student body, but also the visions, and I think that's where we really are able to bridge the gap.
Indeed. Still ahead, Tyler Perry opens state-of-the-art studio, and a key eyewitness, Joshua Brown's biggest fear, comes through. And we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. You're watching 284 News.
Is business slow? Cash flow down? Hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media@cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
When you need to stay connected with friends and families at home or abroad, the best choice for you is Freedom. CCT Freedom. With the lowest rates in the market, our Freedom plan gives you unlimited calls and texting. Plus, our Freedom One package includes 10 gigabits of super fast, unlimited LTE data and unlimited calls to the BVI, USA, USVI, Canada, Puerto Rico, and UK lines. Why pay for overages when you can enjoy CCT Freedom? Stop by at one of our stores today and speak with one of our representatives to find out more about our CCT Freedom packages. Welcome back, viewers. You're watching 284 News. Now, world-renowned producer Tyler Perry broke history last weekend when he became the first African-American to own a studio outright with no partners or corporate backing. And while some may consider this to be, just another studio, it really bears great significance. Now, viewers, get this. His studio grounds once served as a Confederate Army base, during the American Civil War. This 330-acre space in Atlanta, the first studio exclusively owned again by an African-American, features 12 sound stages named after Black icons like Oprah Winfrey, Will Smith, Whoopi Goldberg, Halle Berry, Cicely Tyson, Spike Lee, Denzel Washington, and of course 5 others. Now, in a room of about 800 guests, Tyler Perry highlighted the one special person who, of course, was in attendance that influenced him, the amazing Oprah Winfrey. He said, in 2005, Oprah invited me to her Legends Ball. He revealed, I saw Diana Ross, Smokey Robinson, Tom Cruise, and Sidney Poitier, and I said, what am I doing here? I didn't know. I said it out loud. But Yolanda Adams, who was sitting right next to me, said, you belong here. Now, by the end of the party, I said, I am going to dream bigger. It was something about being in Oprah's house, being in her presence, and seeing what a Black person had accomplished. It really, really spoke to me. He also told his audience of the impact he'd like to make at the studio's grand opening. He said, if I can get you to leave this weekend feeling like I did that day, we're going to change some major things in this world. Sometimes your dreams are on life support. You don't know if you'll make it, but being exposed to something bigger can give your dreams the life it needs. if I can build the studios in this land that was once a Confederate Army base, the crowd, of course, burst into applause as he added, we all get to stand here equally, black, white, whatever. This is the American dream. I think it's pivotal in everything that we've done, everything that we're doing still, and everything that we continue to try to do to motivate and to inspire people, of course.
Amazing
This is a
story.
man
That's a good
who was
story.
once homeless,
Yeah,
who
yeah.
was abused. And I think what's so impactful about Tyler Perry is the fact that he has managed to bring common life stories, bring them to life in the form of movies, in the form of stage shows and
Right.
so on. So it's just really amazing to see how you can turn something that was once a tragedy into, like we see, a legacy here.
What I love about this story is we hear the term self-made thrown around very often, and Tyler Perry, I think, is the epitome of self-made.
Yes.
Just like you mentioned, being homeless and working his way up to the top. But not only has he worked his way to the top, but he's managed to bring a lot of people with him. He's provided the job opportunities for young African-American filmmakers, videographers, editors, and he has really just created a platform
A hub.
that was not there before. And one of the things that he's popularly said is, you know, in trying to get a seat at the table, why not just create your own table?
Create your own
And
table.
that's
I
exactly
love it.
what he's doing. Yeah, great
I
stuff.
love it. In one of his recent interviews, he also made reference, of course, after the opening, to the fact that Hollywood does not pay him
yeah.
the same attention, you know, as other producers
Little to
in the
no
industry.
attention, yeah.
And he feels like it's a major injustice to Black people, and that's why he saw this as a great opportunity, not for himself, but for other persons who really want to get a foot into the door without having to hear
Absolutely.
no so much. So I'm really proud. I mean, all the celebrities there,
It looked like
they
one
were
big
crying.
celebration.
It was just a really amazing story, and to see what he's done over the years is just really inspiring.
And on to a very heartbreaking and bizarre story. Last week we covered the verdict and sentencing of former Dallas police officer Amber Geiger and the surprising acts of forgiveness shown in the courtroom by the victim's family. Well, 10 days after key eyewitness Joshua Brown testified in a very same murder trial against Geiger, his biggest fear came through. The 28-year-old was shot and killed outside his new Dallas apartment on Friday. Brown's testimony provided key details for the jury, which convicted Geiger of murder, but it also gave insight to Brown's personal story and his interactions with Jean. The two men met the day Jean was killed on the afternoon of September 6, 2019. Brown met for the first time. He met John for the first time. Brown said he studied in disciplinary science at the University of South Florida and hoped to play football after college. But those football aspirations didn't pan out. Brown was a rolling contractor for a few years and later managed 4 Airbnb rental properties. The night his neighbor was killed, Brown left his apartment to watch part of the Falcons versus Eagles game at a sports bar, but he decided to go home at halftime. He returned home to his 4th floor apartment at nearly the same time Geiger walked into Jean's apartment, mistaking it for her own. Brown came home just in time to hear gunshots. When he testified in the murder trial of former Dallas officer Amber Geiger, who shot and killed his neighbor Botham John, the former aspiring football player broke down in tears, saying, "It could have been me." John, an accountant widely described as sunny and lovable, sang so loudly that neighbors could hear it in the hallways. Brown said he heard John sing every morning, long before the two ever met in person. John apparently loved gospel music and Drake. Sources close to Brown said Brown lived in constant fear that he could be the next victim of gun violence, either state-sanctioned or otherwise. No suspects have been arrested, and authorities claim that the motive remains still unknown. Jovan, is this coincidence or color?
This is for sure color. A lot of persons don't want to look at this situation as black on white crime, but I honestly, truly believe it is. And even when the sentencing was handed down, you know, a lot of persons really rejoice because it's so unprecedented for a white person to be convicted and sentenced for the
Officer,
murder.
too.
Right, for the murder of a black person. But this victory, I don't even think it should be considered a victory. I think this is a loss. Because when you look at what she was even sentenced to, which is essentially 5 years, 10 years with probation, 5 years. Which black individual you know would have been in the same situation and be sentenced to 5 years? Outside of that, there's so many other alternatives. This man was unarmed, first of all.
Right.
He was in a relaxed position in his home having ice cream. She had other weapons she could have used. She could have used a taser. She could have used pepper spray, which she did have in her possession. She chose to shoot a man sitting in the comfort of his home twice and essentially got away with it.
You know what I find really just daunting and mind-blowing is that after watching the entire country and world watched the forgiving act of his brother and how he poured out and said, you know, all that he said, he didn't even want her to go to prison, we still lost another life.
Because we forgive and nobody else does, you know? That is one of the things about us that is considered a strength and a weakness as well. We forgive too easily. We try to move on. We believe we've suffered enough. When you look at our history, we've been faced with so many atrocities. We've been faced with so many adversities. We just want to move on. Nobody else feels that way. She went down and somebody else probably feel like she shouldn't have to. In the past, they didn't, you know, white people weren't convicted in the past. Why now? You know, so it's really disgusting to see what's still going on in this day and age,
Absolutely.
and unfortunate that we continue to lose our black men, especially to
Most
these
definitely.
types of crimes.
Heart-wrenching.
Viewers, that is it for today's news roundup. Be sure to like us on Facebook at 284 Media, as well as 284 BVI on Instagram, as well as Twitter. My name is Javon Wilson.
And I'm Ron Grant. Be sure to join us live every Tuesday and Friday at 3 p.m. as we deliver honest and impartial news right here on 284 News. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Bye-bye.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There's the answer code.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.
Brilliant Hands and Minds Tutoring Services. One-on-one tutorials in math and English, intense homework assistance, academic enrichment, school projects, effective communication and public speaking development, sign language for adults and children on Saturdays only. Registered with the Virgin Islands High School Certificate Program, Brilliant Hands and Minds can help you too. Offering intense curriculum-based training to help you or your loved ones get their high school diploma. It's time to make your family's education a #1 priority. Hurry, space is limited. Brilliant Hands and Minds Learning Center. We are the trained education professionals.